That's caring for Jesus. That's doing the right thing, okay? And yeah, your taxes are going to go way down, man, way down. Not only your taxes you pay to the quote government, but the taxes you pay to private entities, the cost of living tax. For the relatively short period of time, for the few moments we spend on this beautiful planet, we ought not waste one moment in needless derision of our fellow humans. A basic income, enough to live safely and comfortably on, is one way to, quote, skin the cat or simply to fix the problem of the ever growing lack of freedom via financial enslavement. Of course, there exist plentiful simple solutions to this most grave and sobering problem, but those in the current established system in positions of power do not want any of these solutions implemented. And I ask, do you personally want these life and death social, political, and economics problems solved yourself? And are you willing to set not some of the captives free, but all of them free? Knowing with certainty that fixing this most vexing social ill would also dramatically reduce your taxes, both government taxes and private party taxes. Would you still choose not to fix these undeniably fixable and vexing social ills, because doing so would enable people to be lazy, would stick in your craw, and was way too liberal, and therefore you would much rather shoot yourself in the foot, or in this case the head, or cut off your nose to spite your face, and thus agree that the best option is to keep going with the flow of ever-growing loss of freedom through currency debasement and a perpetually increasing cost of living tax and government taxes. See, that's it, folks. You can only be on one side or the other in this thing. You got to be on the side of everybody, or you're on the side of the evildoers. If you're just on the side of selective, you're a selective clique. We're in a whole lot of trouble with our owner and getting into even more of it as I speak or write. That's right, folks. As long as things are getting worse and not better, and like I said, although Trump's trying to turn the ship, remember, just envision Trump's a ship and its wide berth as it's got to turn. It swings real wide, so it's actually still going the wrong direction for a while it's still turning. So it doesn't mean it hasn't begun, but we haven't felt the effects, and they need to get more intense and acute before we really see any true progress for the lower echelon of the public, the blue-collar, working-class people. That's who's really feeling the most heat. That's who's really paying the ultimate price and dying for the cost of oppression. Okay, that's it, man. It's really that end. Losing their hopes and dreams, man. Their hope of realizing the American dream of home ownership and entering the middle class. It's just being taken away more and more. California's leading the way, and it's bad. But any of you states that allow the endless investment in gentrification, and it's all okay to have one little investor that's aggressive enough come into your town and create a housing shortage, buying up all the low-hanging fruit, taking Section 8 housing money and charging whatever they can to the poorest of poor, the most desperate out there. You're gonna see the same thing that's happening in California happen in your state too. Whatever the market will bear. No, it's not whatever the market will bear. That's a capitalist theory. It's whatever the manipulated, the wholly, with a W, the wholly manipulated, unequivocally, undeniably manipulated market will bear. Is that what we want? That's what we've got. Okay, and it's horrible, man. It's horrible. It cannot work. It cannot work. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's a pyramid scheme. It's got to end badly and ugly, and it's traumatic for a lot of people. And I'm just so beside myself with what's happened in this country. Forget the fact that, quote, Google knows all about, quote, it. Rather remember that God, our owner, knows all about, quote, it, and still loves us more than we can ever fully understand, far more than we feel worthy of. Yeah, I touched on that a little earlier, you know. It's not good getting spied on. I don't like it. I don't like the lack of internet privacy, but we all know what's going on. It is a broach, a breach, an affront to our Fourth Amendment rights to privacy, okay? Unless you've got PC, probable cause, okay, you've got no reason to go through people's papers, private personal papers and effects, okay? And that's what it's akin to. When you're tracking people, seeing what they're doing, that's snooping, that's nosy, that it's illegal, it's unconstitutional, it's against the law, do you understand? So you can't do it, basically. You're supposed to have a warrant, and you've got to have a probable cause. So no, I don't like any snooping. I don't like the fact that I've got to use, pay for virus protection on my computer, but I would not visit a lot of sites, okay, without it. It saved my butt many times because it'll wreck your computer, believe me. These people, so not only there's malicious stuff, so it's not just the spyware and stuff that God knows who's watching you, some little dweeb, working in some stupid agency. It thinks that he's got the right. I mean, we all know they can hack and spy. We all know what's going on. But, we should care more about what God knows about us, And that has to supersede, take precedence over any of our other concerns of anybody spying on us. All that I am, Father, is only what you say that I am. And if that thing is simply beloved, that's plenty. According to the widely accepted idiom, even truism, that, quote, knowledge is power, obviously by default the idiom or falsism, quote, ignorance is bliss, is disempowering and unacceptable. Right. So, you talk about not having your cake and eat it too. We all know what that really means because in a literal sense, that's not true. You can always have another cake backed up, make another cake. And, this idea that you catch more flies with honey than vinegar, we know that's not true. You'll catch more flies with dog crap than, both honey and vinegar combined. But we know what they're trying to say. So, this is a case of not having your cake and eat it too. So you can't prescribe to both philosophies that knowledge is power and that ignorance is bliss. That's, prima facie delusional. But yet a lot of people are trying to walk that invisible tightrope, so they're delusional, they're deceived, self-deceived. We're born masters, so we have a propensity to rationalize stuff and just say, hey, you know what, this is comfortable, I'm in my comfort zone with these beliefs, and I just, I don't know if I believe in God, I'm kind of agnostic, I just don't want to talk about it, right? So, it's serious stuff, man. People should give a lot of consideration to their eternal salvation, and that's part and parcel of what I'm trying to convey to people, man. It's serious business. Contrary to popular belief, ignorance is anything but bliss. It is a cowardly, irresponsible, and ungodly quality attribute to choose. Admit it, humans can be a reprehensible species. When was the last time in history, presently or futuristically, speculative, when any other creatures killed for money? And does anyone honestly wonder why God may be sorely disappointed, angry, and must eventually mete out justice for decent humanity's sake? Right. I mean, for the sake of his children that are being bullied around, the righteous, those that hunger and thirst for righteousness to be the rule of the day on the earth, those that hunger for justice. And, he's got to mete out justice at some point so they stop being bullied around by these evil people that have made us a reprehensible species. They've twisted our minds and our hearts to be impure things and wrong values and wrong thinking and ignorance and stupidity and confusion. Thank God the very smartest people are invariably the nicest, most logical, and most humanitarian people. No matter how much pseudo conservatives tell you they oppose pseudo-liberal tax and spend policies, they know who is ultimately signing their paychecks. We, the regular people, through taxation. So you know what? These people, these pseudo-conservatives that bitch and moan about high taxes, but remember, they're taking tax money. That's where their bread is buttered on. That's what it pays them, purportedly. It isn't the lobby groups and, money getting paid them under the table and through other, sundry clandestine, surreptitious, sinister means, which we all know has taken place. How do so many of these politicos end up so fabulously wealthy? You think it's not through favoritism and all this crap going on? So there's a lot of evil out there, but they do it under the pretense. Remember, though, they too are saying they're getting their paycheck is by the taxpayers. So you understand, they're not going to bite the hand that feeds them, but they're not going to tell you the truth either, lest you perceive it as that. So a lot of them, though they claim to be fiscally conservative, they're not. They're just liars. They're capitulating and conforming to the tax and spend crap because. It's they're in their own perceived self-interest, and perception is reality. Make no mistake, God's will be established on earth, and anyone opposed to that inevitable eventuality will simply be somewhere else. For anyone to suggest that for any sound reason cost of living deflation is bad is by default telling you that inflation is good. Right, exactly. Or maybe they think we should just stay right here. No more inflation. We're just in a perfect place. No more wage increases. We're just in a perfect place. Right here. That's stagflation, right? That's what they'll call it if things did just stop. And, the problems just stop. But you understand, anybody that tells you that cost of living deflation is bad is by default telling you that the only answer and what's good is cost of living inflation, right? I mean, duh. Prima facie. That's like convincing someone that currency, money debasement, deworthment, is a good thing, and increasing currency money worth is a bad thing. My question is, exactly how stupid do they think we are? If how long they've gotten away with such a miserable economic theorem, one based upon lies, graft, theft, and fraud, is any indication, we've been pretty damn stupid for a long time. That's right. People that buy into this, going with the flow, the path of least resistance, man. Wonder how we got to this point in history. Anyone in America who believes they were born free is self-deceived and deluded. We used to be a beacon of freedom worldwide when an average worker serving society in any capacity could comfortably afford the American dream of middle class and home ownership. And today, that ship has sailed so far it is no longer visible on the horizon. We've lost wanton quantities of freedom in recent decades due to the fact that murderous, thieving criminals have been and are in control of our economic system, and that for a long time. There are two ways to get rich. Number one, the right way, the path, the worth of your existing money, your monetary financial numbers gradually increasing in worth automatically through sound economic policy benefiting everyone, which amounts to true capitalism. Or number two, the wrong way, by continually working to increase your monetary financial numbers. Knowing to become rich, you must make greater and greater numbers simply to offset currency deworthment or debasement. Oh, and worst of all, you steal from the poor to get rich. This describes a wholly fascist form of crony capitalism. The result is very unpleasant for huge swaths of the population having their wealth and freedom confiscated. Right. Essentially, they turn true capitalism and its effects on its head and call it a good thing, call it progress. An inescapable inherent problem with any, quote, democracy, hypothetically, let's say 50% of the citizenry was, quote, well off, financially speaking, and sought to stay well off and gain an ever growing advantage or clout over the other 49% of the citizenry who were not so well off financially. They could simply vote perpetually to place the burden of taxation, that's taxes paid to both government entities and private entities, whom had the power and or authority to place all the burden upon the 49%, effectively enslaving them indefinitely. That's it, folks. That is a fly in the ointment.